Hola, hola, and buenos dias, G&Gs. My name is Trekk with 2Ks, and this is Weekend Crypto, brought to you here on Gentlemen of Crypto YouTube channel. If you don't know, well, now you do. Basic idea is that I cover crypto news stories that happen between late Friday and Sunday. So, as you can see, I'm not in my studio again, no green screen or any of that. I'm on the road. I'm actually over in Lisbon, Portugal right now for the NEAR conference, which is put together by the NEAR Foundation / NEAR Protocol. And so I'm out here right now. So my timing is a little bit off in regards to these stories and what I'm covering. I'm 5 hours ahead, so I'm moving a little different for this whole thing right now. But nonetheless, I got a couple of things for you. So here we go. Bitcoin payment app on XLRP. Here's how. So basically, a person came up with this platform called Spend the Bits, and they basically coded their own thing and being able to connect Bitcoin to XRP. Now, honestly, when you read most of this, even though like they bring in the whole John E. Denton, which he's a big proponent for XRP, it really is not what you think it is. Why? Because here's what the real kicker of this whole thing is. This last little sentence right here. It's also worth clarifying that when making Bitcoin transactions through the Spend It Bits app, which is based on the XRP ledger, the user sends a synthetic IOU version of the cryptocurrency, that being Bitcoin, like XBTC from Coinbase or SBTC from the 21 Shares Fund. So this is already on the like KYC. It's coming out of a pool that's not even actually like Bitcoin itself. I just wanted to cover this story because in case you hear somebody talking about, oh, well, now, you could do blah, blah, blah with BTC. Nah, dog, it's not actual BTC. I'm going to just jump onto this next story. And so now, Florida governor warns against auto warranty scammers asking crypto payments. It should be asking for crypto payments. The basic idea here is scammers are moving into new setups to get people. If you don't know what's going on right now within the car industry, X amount of folks are out here having cars that they cannot afford, literally. And so people are being caught up in new maintenance packages that they don't need. People are being caught up in default payments and people calling them to be like, hey, if you do blah, 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 and you pay it out using a quote gift card or a cryptocurrency in this manner, then, this would help you. So Florida, which is interesting enough that the Florida state folks, so what is this, FDAC, sorry, pardon me, FDAC puts this out. It makes me then question what is going on with the used and the new car market in Florida for them to actually take action to say something. I would argue there might be something on the horizon, but that's just my thought on it because of some other things I'm paying attention to. Nonetheless, I would also say too, in regards to this thing about like using gift cards and stuff, if you wasn't already using gift cards to be able to like spend your crypto, if you wasn't already doing that before these folks called you, like definitely don't even push any further on that. That's not your realm. I'm not saying this as here's financial advice. This is more so like, here's something that is smarter and how you should look at it in a best security practice thing. If you wasn't already messing with stuff like that, don't do it. And then not to mention, no reputable insurance company or car manufacturer or car dealer is going to call you with something like this. So jumping on into this next story. Also, I got to point out, like, I don't have my desktop, so I'm not running through with the highlights and about stuff. So here's this next one. What is it? Google adds Ethereum merge countdown clock as searches reach all-time high. Now, when you first read this story, and I'll even read the subcaption joint, Google Cloud blockchain developer Sam Padella showcased the latest update to Google Search, which includes a real-time merge countdown with merge pandas. So this is PR cross-branding as far as Google working to get into probably some deals that they got coming down the pike with Ethereum. That's at least my first take on it. Where the technical part comes in for this, and I don't know the whole thing, but one thing I do understand about how Google search works is it's not a matter of you are able, or you go in and just randomly look for anything. Google search works the most effectively because it gives you X amount of the suggestions. So I would argue that their numbers are not as true as they're making it sound, but nonetheless, this does show that there is a level of adoption from a traditional FANG, and so this goes to, hey, quote, mass adoption is happening, right? Because now you have this big behemoth of a company that is taking interest in this thing called the merge, which, if you start digging in on the technicals of the merge, it's not what's being marketed and pumped to the masses, to the non-technical folks. I'm gonna leave that one on there. Jumping into this next story. Here's why trading ETH POW, which is proof of work tokens, could open users to risk of losing mainnet Ethereum. Okay, so this is a semantics game, arguably, because technically speaking, Ethereum Classic is actually the original Ethereum. But what they're talking about here is that selling ETH POW tokens could lead to losing mainnet ETH if the chain ID of ETH POW is not updated as planned. I would argue, because when I read through the article, it's kind of a semantic wordplay game going on, because we're talking about mainnet. Like, okay, so if ETH POW forked from ETH proof of stake, they would each have their own mainnet, right? So mainnet is just like a misdirection of the word, right? Here's the thing. I would argue this article and other articles that will be similar to throwing out this whole idea of, hey, there could be a loss of capital, of monetary gain if this particular thing is not changed at the time that they said it would be. Notice they're not saying that it's not going to be changed. They're just saying about it being done at a particular time. This is them trying to throttle the market of people from dumping out of proof of work. I think that's part of what's going on in this story. Again, sometimes you got to read between the lines and look how stories are used to nudge, influence the market or people's understanding. And it might not be the clearest. Sometimes it might be to murky the situation. But I think that's more what this article leads to, because they're not saying anything in absolute terms. They're just saying, hey, it's a possibility that if they don't do it when they're supposed to, or when they said they would, it could lead to this. I think, where's the line at? Where's the line at? Chaos mainnet merge. It appears, no, it wasn't that one. Where are you? This was a pretty long size article. All right, so here it is. Pay attention to whether the chain ID. So basically they're talking about if people, and this is what got me to think that about is this something that's being thrown out and made into a subject to throttle people from, and when I say throttle, I mean to slow people down, to make them more cautious, to tell the market, hey, don't dump, right? To influence the market sentiment. That's my point about this. But it says, pay attention. So a word of warning for anyone planning to dump any ETH POW tokens they receive after the merge. Pay attention to whether the chain ID of the ETH POW has been updated before you transact. The chain ID should not be 1, but it should be 10001. If the chain ID is 1, you risk losing funds from your mainnet Ethereum wallet. So, again, it's a semantics thing on saying mainnet, because if you're talking about proof of work versus the proof of stake Ethereum, it's going to be two different mainnets, like regardless. So that's how I'm looking at it. You don't got to believe me. You could do your own research and make it make sense to you. But that's how I'm looking at it right there. Jumping into this next story. So Ethereum name service developer identifies challenges in Vitalik's fee proposal. I'm not even going to run through this whole thing because honestly, I didn't get all of the points that were being made for the fee structure for ETH domains and talking about subdomains. It might have been just in the way the article is written, or the other part that kind of got me was this is basically like one smart person, quote, challenging another smart person. And again, this isn't even saying this is an absolutes. This is like, well, you know, it kind of might play out like this because based on blah, 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 we have evidence that could lead to this. It's not saying that that's what's going to actually happen. That's the part that gets me about this particular article too. It's not spoken in absolutes. Granted, she makes points that has validity to them. It doesn't mean she's talking in absolute certainty of he is wrong. Here's X, Y, and Z, why he is wrong. There's a question around how he came up with his formula and his thought process behind it because of other things that might counter his logic. Not saying it's absolutely wrong though. So jumping over to this next story, Singapore DBS Bank enters the metaverse with Sandbox partnership. This I thought was interesting. Again, another story of mass adoption. Yes, mass adoption is happening in various different ways. I also thought it was interesting that it was Singapore, a bank out of Singapore, because if you got a bank out of Singapore to agree with this, I'm going to argue you had to somehow get mainland China to agree with this. So there's probably a bigger thing going on behind the scenes. At the same time, though, this is an experimentation. Because here's the part that gets me. When I read through the article, they don't actually break down what the experience is or what the metaverse is outside of, hey, we're going to have this bank have a space, a structure, a virtual plot in the Sandbox metaverse. Does it mean that their users are going to come in like onboarding, 10,000 a day? Not at all. I don't even know what this means for the bank services that they're going to offer through this particular means because they don't actually cover that in this article. So that's the other thing about it. What else? There was something else that I had thought about. Well, there was something else I had thought about. Oh, this was the other part that got me. The virtue signaling of carbon neutral. If you actually do the homework to look into what are carbon credits, how does the system actually work, you will definitely come to a more clearer understanding, in my opinion, that it is not as environmentally friendly as the industry that is expanding around it into the blockchain crypto space would like you to believe. That's at least my understanding of it. You might read some other stuff that tells you something different. I'm not telling you what to believe. I'm just saying what I see in this article and how it's being packaged is X amount of virtual signaling, and this is more about there's a positioning to pump the market to make it sound like this is environmental friendliness is a good thing. It's a thing that the tech actually works. It's not even that the tech works. This is a financial instrument. Carbon credits are a financial instrument. That's what they are. Nonetheless, I'm not going to run down that rabbit hole. Jumping into this last story, and I'm not looking to throw shade at Anthony Pomplianos, if you don't know Pomp. But I'm going to bring this up because if BitBoy was able to get flamed for what he had happened with Celsius, then Pomp should be able to get flamed by the community in community policing for his situation with, what's the name of his company? What was the name of his company? Morgan Creek, and them being connected to, I can't even remember, BlockFi. Okay, so if BitBoy was able to get flamed, there should be no, oh, well, Pomp is official because he comes from Facebook. Nah, dog. If we all equal in this whole thing, then he should be able to get flamed too. And I'm not talking about flaming him like a scammer, pump and dump, nothing like that. What I'm trying to say is he has made a switch. He definitely is pivoting his whole brand. And I noticed it a couple of weeks ago, probably like a month or something ago, that I seen how the interviews changed. And I was like, oh, okay. So this article is an opinion piece. This is not a factual thing. This is just someone else's observation of his change in his brand voice and his brand narrative. He's moving away from having Bitcoin be the focus and the louder thing of what he pumps. And so I agree. Like, yeah, he's making a move, but, and the article doesn't touch in on it. I would argue, and I think, I'm going to say it this way. I think when everything happened with BlockFi and then how it came back on Morgan Creek, and him being like the face person, they had to make certain adjustments. Like, hey, you can't be the mouth dude piece anymore. And because what you were doing, somebody probably might have threw it at him like, oh, that's market manipulation. You're not Jamie Dimon. You're not down with JP Morgan. You can't be out here talking like that anymore. And it's also funny, there's another part in this article where they bring up the point of how somebody makes the point like influencers on Pomp's about influencers on his level and status are going to end up talking about stocks. They're going to move away from crypto and talk about stocks. So if you see what's going on with him, he has moved away from talking about crypto. He's expanding into bigger economy conversations. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I think he probably got a shoulder tap and was like, yeah, you need to stop doing that. You're messing up the business model down the road. That's at least my thought on it. I'm not like throwing shade at him. It's just, it has been brought to my attention. I think before COVID, I was talking with somebody about this and it was like, watch, you're going to start to see more of the folks who've been like heavy pumping or heavy, like how they talk about the space. They're going to change their tune. And this was like after COVID. So no, I probably had a conversation during COVID. Nonetheless, I'm not trying to throw shade at him. I am pointing out that he's not going to be the only one to do the switch. Some people have already been doing the switch. And that's it. That's all I got to say on that one. Other than that, I'm just going to close it out. And yeah, I got the ending. All right, here we go. All right, and there you have it. Those were the things that happened, like the whole thing with Singapore. That has me kind of interested. That situation with Vitalik, like, one smart person calling out another smart person. We'll see how that actually plays out over time. And like I said, things always are happening. It's just, what are you paying attention to and how are you cross-referencing that information? That's how I look at these things. So before I close out, let me say, oh, by the way, thank you to the folks who are still tapping in. I definitely appreciate, especially with everything going on right now in the market. It's still, a thing for me, a thing for King, a thing for Zay, the rest of the network, that folks are still tapping in to watch the content that we're creating in the different areas that we cover. So I just want to say thank you. I have an abundance of gratitude for the folks who are still tapping in and paying attention and listening to these things that I say. And before I actually close out, I do want to bring up, if you are in Lisbon, if you're out here for the Near Protocol, I'm here until like near the end of the week. Definitely hit me up. Also, this week, I started a new thing with Crypto Blood, Yoga Boss, and Crypto BJ called The Wevolution. We're doing Twitter Spaces on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. East Coast American time, okay? And then I'm also doing the usual thing with 3D, which is Metaverses, the Cliff Notes for Web3. That is on Thursdays at 8 p.m. Same thing. It is East Coast time, 8 p.m. And what is the other thing? Once a month, we are doing our webinar, which is the bigger thing of Metaverses, the Cliff Notes to Web3. That is going to be the 30th of this month, being September. Yeah, it's a number of things going on right now, y'all. So nonetheless, at least have a productive over busy week. If it's not going to be that, at least be in good company and be safe. All right, y'all. 1.